What's going on, everybody? This is Mark from Solar Games. Today, topic is going to be on mistake-based learning. I kind of have this theory that I don't think our education system is doing the right thing to enable the next generation. I think one of the biggest problems I see in school is that all throughout school, all the way up to college, everything, you were told making mistakes is a bad thing. Imagine you taking a test. You go to the test, you do the questions wrong. What happens? You get dot points, and now you are ranked lower than other students in your class. You hand in homework. If you got a question wrong, you got less points, and that's now part of your GPA, right? It's almost like the way that school was teaching us is be as perfect as possible, and every mistake you make is a negative thing. It's terrible, it's bad. And one of the things you will probably learn very quickly when you leave the school system is that the people who tend to be very, very successful in life are the ones who are very good at understanding when they make mistakes, what to do about it. And this is the topic I do want to cover today, because I think it's very important for the next generation and people who are younger than me, hopefully, to understand how this works, and maybe it'll help you a little bit in your life as it did with me. So mistake-based learning. So the whole idea is that it is acceptable and understandable and totally okay to make mistakes, but it is not okay to not learn from them. The key perspective of this is just, look, everyone makes mistakes. Everybody. I mean, literally everybody. There is no one who is perfect, period. Everybody makes mistakes at different times, different places. And one of the things that has become very common is because everyone's so afraid of looking weak and making mistakes, that they're basically lying to themselves and depriving personal growth, because they don't want to admit fault. They don't want to admit defeat. They don't want to admit like they're weaker than they should be. So the things I would kind of encourage everyone to do is, reflect on your life a little bit. Every single time that you make a mistake, whether you externally feel this way or internally feel this way, there's going to be pain, right? If, for example, you say the wrong thing and everyone catches you in a lie or something, there's pain, right? There's pain in that moment of the light shining on your lies. There's pain in that moment of you making that mistake and hurting somebody. And my hope is that when that happens, whether you admit it publicly or not, look, I don't really care, honestly. I think sometimes it does help to say, hey, publicly, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, because it is easier to kind of start that healing process and growth. But I don't think it's necessary. I think you can totally if you can be true to yourself, which is, again, very hard, but if you can be true to yourself and say, that was a mistake, genuine mistake, you don't have to go make a public apology or just apology about it at all, really. But you genuinely understand that you made a mistake and you're going to do something about it. That's the key. So that's phase one. Understand that you can make mistakes and it's totally fine. And then phase two is really understanding, like, once you make a mistake, and that you should adjust for it and change. So of course, everyone's thinking like, okay, thanks, Mark, but this is a Magic Gathering channel. What does this have to do with magic? I think this is an advice I want to give to wizards, but also to everyone else who's kind of in the same boat as me. Obviously, to wizards, I think that's pretty clear. You're making a mistake. Whether you realize it or not yet, you're making a mistake. Never have I seen this type of anger in the community that we're seeing now. Everyone's pushing back. Everyone's against what you're doing. Something's happening, and you can choose not to be aware of it, but guess what? You're going to continue seeing shortfalls in your revenue. You're going to see that people are rejecting your products. You're going to see that people are just kind of like hating you. And sure, sometimes maybe making a short-term gain in profit means long-term loss. Maybe you haven't realized that yet, but long-term, a lot of people are losing confidence in you as a company. And I kind of have an idea that they do understand some mistakes were made. I don't know if they think it's the right one. I mean, look, their CFO retiring is not a good sign, right? She's been with the company for years, 20 years plus. And for her to leave during this like tumultuous time, it's probably, it's a good sign that she's stepping down for someone else to kind of take over. Now, whether the mistake of revenue shortfall ties to an actual fix of the problem, that's a totally different thing. But look, I fully believe that internally at Wizards, they are not dumb. They are realizing that they're making mistakes. I just don't understand if they first think it's the right one, or number two, whether they're going to make any good changes about it. That's them. But let's talk about us. In the past, I've thought about like, hey, continuously doing what I do business-wise with respect to Magic. Look, I have a career outside of Magic. This is not my full-time thing. It's a side hustle type of thing with Magic. Lots of passion, lots of sweat equity. It's what I enjoy, so I do it. But at the same time, I realized more and more that my perspective and things are changing. Doing the single business with Magic is taking more and more of my time, and I'm getting less and less of the profits of it. In fact, for the last couple sets, I have been taking losses instead. And at some point, I just think like, and this is again with pre-orders and everything, with the high price of pre-orders. So I'm starting to think like, what's the point? Why do this thing if there's no profit in it for me, right? And I want to, again, this really has nothing to do with you guys, but it's more of me giving you an example of how I apply the mistake-based learning perspective. Is that sure, I'm making a mistake. It's pretty obvious. Running a business, you can't continue taking hits. Look, we can cite, recession 2022, player anger 2022, 30th anniversary, whatever, right? All of that could be factors, but the reality is, look, if it's not making sense for me and I do all this extra work and it's kind of like financially not feasible, then what's the point of doing this at all? So I think what I'm going to be doing with respect to this is starting next set, new Phyrexia, all will be one. I'm just going to not do what I normally do with singles, pre-orders, all that stuff anymore. There are plenty of other people on there, nostalgic, card market, whatever. There are a ton of sellers on eBay that do this. That's not me. I'm gonna probably just take a step back and focus more on the content creation side and other things that may make more sense for what I'm trying to do. Probably less work, less effort as well, and go like enjoy some other stuff with my life, rather than being stressed to having to open tons of boxes, ship orders, etc. Being dicked by like ultra rare, mythic rare, high low rarities of things that don't exist. So that's what I'm going to change. And look, until further notice, if things change, if for some reason now the price of singles are back up again, maybe we'll be different. But for now, like, that's what I'm looking at, is making that adjustment to my strategy. So that's an example of mistake-based learning. So you make a mistake, you look at what it is. It's painful for me to lose money every set, and then have a bunch of extra cards I can't really sell anyways, right? They're all bulk rares basically at this point. So I'm not going to do that anymore. Either I change the way I open, what products I open, or just not do it at all. And I've chosen to, at least for now, temporarily or whatever, semi-permanently, to not open any more products for singles. So that's where I am sitting with this. And hopefully that will send a pretty clear message to Wizards. Again, I'm a small fish in the greater pond of people who are buying millions every set like Rudy does. But there's a lot of small fishes that add up to Rudy, or even greater than Rudy. And the thing is, well, guess what? I'm taking the amount of revenue I'm giving the Wizards every set. I'm just taking that off the table. They're not going to get it from me anymore, because again, I can't make this happen. I can't make this work. And I suspect more and more sellers are going to feel the same way, because again, all of our margins are being crunched. Our costs are going up, and our profits or our revenue has pretty much stayed the same or even decreased a little bit. So that's what we're sitting with. Anyways, that's going to do it for me today. Mark, Solo Games, I'm out. See ya.